One of my patrons recently mentioned that I don't, use a lot of viewer submitted stories, and I thought about that. I was like, yeah, it's been quite a while since I've actually made a video using stories sent to me from viewers. I don't honestly know why. I know I didn't really want to, like a long time ago, I knew that I didn't really want to rely on, my viewers for stories, but, I encourage people to write them because I collect stories and I like reading them. But yeah, once the patron sent me that letter, I was like, or the message, I was like, yeah, I should actually start doing more of them. So anyways, I decided to, I've got so many, and I could I could do like a theme type thing. So I figured I would start with, they're not going to be every week, but I'm going to start, incorporating more viewer stories into the videos. And so anyways, I thought I would start out with a video using stories from viewers regarding strange people encounters. I've made a video in the past called Strange People. These are situations where people encounter other people that seem totally normal, and then at some point while talking to them, they realize that there's something, different or strange about them. And they determine that, it's possible that these aren't really people, that they're something else. The first story I'm going to talk about was sent by an anonymous user. I don't know their name or their handle other than anonymous, so I'm going to just read it. It's a strange story about some weird people witnessed at a gym. I was at the gym in Florida with my niece, who was 7 years old at the time. I just walked out of the kids' daycare when we came across two very unusual looking people. A woman about 70 inches tall. This would be about 5'10", and what I initially took for either her son or younger brother, about 66 inches tall or about 5'6". They had a very odd-looking forehead and widely spaced eyes. The three of us immediately locked eyes. Why me, of all the people in that gym? I felt somewhat uncomfortable, so I told my niece, "Hey, check them out." I don't think she looked. Maybe because I always teased her about other people, or she didn't see them. But they were there plain as day, with their eyes locked in on me, with my niece totally oblivious to the surroundings. We had to walk by them, separated by only less than 2 feet. I keep talking to my niece with my one eye on them and all 4 of their eyes on me. This was a strange encounter, to say the least. I asked my niece just last month about them, and she had no clue whatsoever of who I was talking about. I even asked the gym manager who was there at the front desk back then, and surprisingly enough still works there, if she remembered them, and she had no idea what I was talking about. These were 2 people you would not forget. Even at passing glance you would remember them, and yet no one does except me. I have never seen people who look like that before or since. If they would have said to me that they came down from another planet, I would have believed them in a heartbeat. It's just strange. The entire episode was about 2 minutes, and they never took their eyes off me, and yet the only one in the immediate area who remembers them is me. This pops up in a lot of these types of stories where, they're out to dinner, there's some very strange looking people, and, all of a sudden they start staring at them. And it's like, it's like they're the only ones that are seeing these people. It's like the veil's, been lifted for a moment, and somehow, like you're tuned in a radio station. It's like you've tuned in, you're seeing these people, you're not supposed to be seeing these people, and they're like, wait, why is this person why is this person seeing us? And it sounds like one of those types of cases. The next account was posted by a person calling themselves S. Boloshis. I think that's how you pronounce it. Once in Arizona, a man walked into a hotel where I worked. He had a coat on, a pea green military type coat, and butcher paper. Yes, he had butcher paper around himself like some kind of tube top, under his coat like a shirt. Further, one of his legs was giant, like twice the size of the other. He asked to use the payphone in the lobby. I told him, sure, not yet realizing how weird he looked. He was kind of obscured by the desk and the entry door. We, the witness is referring to a coworker, started out with a weird vibe the moment he actually crossed the lobby to the phone. That's when we finally got a good look at him. He walked a bit slow, but this made sense as his leg looked swollen. He then made a call and turned slightly to keep me and my coworker in his vision, staring sort of out of his peripheral vision. Very soon we could tell he wasn't listening to anyone and the phone was making noises like it was off the hook. I decided that was enough and demanded that he leave, which he did abruptly by our side door. Now the really weird part, my coworker took a picture of him on that payphone with an old flip phone. In the digital pixelation he was moving or something, which made him kind of blurrier than the rest of the picture, and he looked like his face was an oversized grinning skull, black-eyed and whole where his nose should be. I still have that picture. It still creeps me out. Sadly, the witness did not include the photograph. But in this case, the fact that his face seemed different in the image, not just that it was blurred or whatever, like it looked actually like a skull. So that's kind of like almost like, I guess, an X-ray. And that's kind of creepy. The next account, posted by a person calling themselves N by Northwest, described an encounter with some strange people in Southeast California. When I was in my 20s, I went camping at a lake in Southeast California on Halloween night with 3 friends. By the time we got there, set up tents, it was almost dark, and we decided to row the boat out. While getting the boat into the water, we noticed that the campground was full with a group of people that all knew each other. While in the boat, we could see that all the people there had gathered at one campsite and were in a big group around a fire pit. We decided to get in, so we tied the boat, headed to the tents. We were walking past the group, and as we got closer, we could see everyone had black like robes on, like graduation robes. There was a guy in the middle with a fire-red beard that was really long. He was the one doing some sort of chant in what was Latin, we thought. Then, as he was doing this weird thing, his body started to levitate off the ground, just as we were going past. It was the freakiest, scary-looking thing. We went to our tents. All night we heard weird things going on. We didn't dare look out. We heard weird sounds right by our tent. The next morning we couldn't pack fast enough. After we got home in San Diego, I did some research on the lake and found out a Mason's Lodge was real close to that lake, but we all thought it was some sort of devil worshippers. I thought initially when I read it that, given that it was Halloween, that it's possible that there were people there dressed up, in these black robes, and that they weren't up to anything strange, that they were just there because it was Halloween night and that's how they were dressing. They were, dressing up as a cult or something like that. But then when he said that it appeared that they were, that at least one of these individuals, the one who was leading this chant, suddenly started levitating. That I thought maybe there's more to it. Maybe there was something strange going on. It could have been just them pulling a prank on these guys, and they all kind of were working together to kind of pull one over and just thought it was hilarious. I don't know. The next story was posted by someone calling themselves Michael Anthony. I'm not sure what to make of it. Call it BS if you want, but this really happened. None of this is false or made up. In mid-2020, I was jogging one of my favorite trails, an 8-mile-long hiking and mountain biking trail. I was around 3/4 of the way finished when I kept getting this weird feeling to look behind me, but every time I checked, there was nothing. I was coming around a long corner with thick brush and a stream on the edge of the trail when I decided to look back one more time, and once again nothing, until I faced forward again and almost stepped on a 2-foot snake sprawled across the trail. At the last moment, I dodged to the side, narrowly missing its head, and kept running, apologizing because I don't harm stuff. I just don't. About 2 minutes later, I may be 5 minutes away from the end of the trail when I hear a woman shout, "Behind you." My soul nearly left my body because I checked so many times and there was no one back there, except the snake. I let her pass and I noticed that she was attractive. I couldn't help but watch her run ahead, LOL. She also had a weight vest, as I did, but then I noticed something that gave me serious chills. Her shorts were not shorts. At first glance, they appeared to be tight snake print jogging shorts, but as I stared, it looked more and more like snakeskin from her waist down to the bottom of her butt. She hit the end of the trail before I did. She went to an old white car and sat on the trunk staring at me as I walked to my truck. If I wasn't so freaked out, I would have said hi to her, whatever it was, LOL. But it was too much all at once, so I left in a hurry. I've only been back one time since then, and it's difficult to focus on running because I feel like something is out there. It's ominous AF. This one I think could have been a coincidence that she was wearing just this weird type of clothing that kind of threw him off, but given the nature of the encounter, the fact that he had the sense that there was something behind him, but every time he looked there was nothing there, only to encounter this snake and then right after encounter this woman wearing, apparently not wearing, with snakeskin, I guess. So, it's possible that he encountered some type of a shapeshifter. I do believe that those types of things do happen. I don't know. It would definitely be spooky. A person calling themselves Susan Gilbert posted a comment about a strange student she encountered while working as a school counselor. I was a school counselor at the old Las Vegas high school a number of years ago. One day the principal brought 2 men in 3-piece suits and a student to my office and asked me to register him. I will leave out some details, but as I looked at the student, I saw that the pupils of his eyes were like cat's eyes. Other than that, he was normal looking. The 2 men looked around my office and appeared to not notice my reaction. I asked the boy his name and he gave me a first name. I began filling out the forms and one of the men said they would have to come back because they were late. They left and I heard no more about it. I told the principal that the registration had not been completed, and he merely nodded and there was no more discussion. I've often thought about it. A person calling themselves Conda Samantis described an encounter their husband had with another weird human. My husband worked for 30 years within the Illinois prison system. He had to walk over to another housing unit that he didn't work on. This guy was raising Cain with all the line officers, so my husband was sent over to quiet him. My husband had never seen this inmate, and nobody had told him my husband's name. In the corrections world, everyone goes by their last names, like Lieutenant Smith. So anyway, this inmate was doing something awful on the floor when my husband got to his cell front. He looked up at my husband and said, "Mikey, I've been waiting to see you." My husband said some crap to him because it was startling. He then said, "Is Grandma making you food tonight?" So my husband would check on his late granny after work each night. On work nights it was after 11, and that sweet old gal would have him fried eggs and bacon, etc. Nobody at that prison knew that. My husband will swear he was looking straight at a demon. It still bothers him, and that was in 1993. I want to finish off with a comment from someone calling themselves Hot X Hot Guy. It's very strange, and I'm warning you, English is not my language, so my grammar might not be great. I was like 7 years old, and I remember my mom and several other family members went to my older sister's school where there was a talent show going on. You could choose to dance, sing, and act. My sister, who was 9 years old, chose to sing. She was a talented singer for her age. So here I am sitting on a chair with my mom. They turn off the light of the auditorium, only to keep slight lighting on the stage with an artificial light show. The host comes up, makes little jokes, causing all the adults to laugh. Then she calls up a contestant, I don't know the name, who will act. The contestant comes from behind the curtain to act. She is a girl. I just stared at her confused because she looked like me. She looked exactly like me, only slightly older. I may be a kid, but I know my own face with my same voice. She leaves the stage. Now a different contestant comes and goes. Then the host says my sister's name, who will sing, and a name I don't remember, who will play the piano. The curtain opens again. I see my sister and the girl sitting on a chair in front of the piano. And again, I see myself. My sister sings as if nothing is wrong. This time I look at my mom, who seems normal too. My sister is done singing and leaves the stage with my doppelganger. After that, a choir group comes to the stage to sing, and on the far right I see another me, this time way older, singing. This time I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I urgently told my mom that, Mom, she looks like me. Why does she look like me? My mom only tells me to keep quiet and not to bother the audience. I felt ill. I couldn't stay there anymore. I told my mom I'm feeling sick. My mom sends me home with one of my relatives. This experience was really bizarre and creepy. I didn't tell this to anyone. I don't believe in the simulation theory, but I don't understand why I would see that as a child. Why did I see multiple duplicates of myself like this? I still want an explanation for this. Recently, one of my patrons mentioned that, hey, Jake, where are you going? Hey, get back up on the stool. Jake,